So now I am working on installing the zipper pocket, my back panel of my purse. I have here my back panel, as well as my zipper pocket fabric. I've already have it pinned down. So you can see I've done the same thing as the interior zipper pocket. I've got my middle line that was drawn with its 2 sideway V's, and then the 1/2 inch box around it. So total 1/2 inch there, and then a 1/4 inch from each end. I've already got it pinned down. It's pinned down 1.5 inches from the top, and it is centered. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna sew along this entire box to help create where our zipper is going to go. So I saw it on a different setting. So again, just following the box, the lines. And you can see I've got the pins in the center along that center line, just so they're out of my way when I'm sewing. Pivot. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and take out those pins. I'm gonna start cutting along that center line. So again, to start, I like to use my stitch ripper. Just get a bit of a slit going. And then I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm gonna cut along that center line. So again, when you're doing this pocket, your right sides are together. Don't forget that. And again, just down the line here. So I'm gonna stop where my line is. For this part, I'm actually gonna grab my smaller scissors. I just find it's easier to work with them. And I'm gonna cut this little V again, not cutting that stitching. You want to go just before it. So that's why I've got my smaller scissors. So again, don't cut the stitching. I'm just cutting the line. Okay. There we go. So now I'm going to push my zipper fabric through the opening. And I'm going to pull it through. Actually, before I do that, there's one step I forgot. So because this is foam for the exterior part of our purse, we are going to trim as much of the excess foam as we can. Just the foam, don't trim the fabric, don't trim the stitching. So I'm just going to flip down the fabric and flip up the foam, and using my scissors, just carefully cutting away that extra foam, just to make flipping this pocket easier. So it's not so bulky. You don't want a huge amount of bulk from the foam, because if you're using Pellon, it's pretty much a 1/4 inch. If you're using the Bosal, it's not as thick, but I only have Pellon on hand, so that's what I'm using. So you're gonna do the same with the 2 ends. Just carefully snip that extra foam away so it's not in there. Not getting the stitching. Get as close as you can to the stitching, but don't actually get the stitching, because you're gonna have to fix it and then you're just not gonna have fun with it. As you can see, I'm just folding down the fabric and I'm just cutting the foam. So that's getting rid of that bulky extra that we don't need. Okay. And then just this last little end here. Definitely easier if you fold it. Pop that up with your thumb. All right. As you can see, Now you can see all the fabric and there's not nearly all that bulk. If you need to trim anything extra, you can go ahead, but I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna flip it back over now. Oh, my sewing machine's become unthreaded. So now I'm gonna push that zipper pocket fabric through the opening. Bring it all out. So you can press this if you want. I didn't find it made a difference, so I'm using my fingers and I'm smoothing out the fabric. And while I'm holding it with my one hand, I'm gonna take some pins and I'm gonna pin down the fabric. I'm pinning close to this edge as possible. I'm not going all the way through. I just wanna catch the foam a little bit just to anchor this fabric. Again, pulling the fabric, not too hard, but you want it pretty smooth and taut. So again, smoothing it out with your fingers. And you can see, just trying to keep it nice and flat so our zipper goes in nice and perfectly. So I'm doing that again here. As you see, I use my fingers to roll things a lot of the time because I want that seam in the center. So again, using my hands to hold it down, to pin while pulling the fabric a little bit. I'm just going through the very top part of the foam. You don't want to go all the way to the other side of the fabric. If you go all the way to the other side of the fabric, you're going to have puckering. So you just want a little bit. You just want enough to anchor. You're just anchoring the fabric to keep it out of your way and keep it nice and flat. Again, at the sides, I always find the sides a little trickier, so I keep them to the end. I just really pull, and then I usually use a couple pins. So right there, and again, I'll pull it over here, right there. So you can see that. And it's not perfect, but it's, you can always move your pin if you want. A lot better than this, right? You don't want that. That's what we don't want. We want it to be pretty smooth. Pretty smooth here. Okay, one more pin there. And don't prick yourself like I just did. There we go. So you can see how it's nice and flat. If you go to the other side, you can't even tell that there's pins. Okay, so now you're gonna grab your other zipper. I've already got my double-sided tape. So you're just going to place that zipper. You're going to place your opening of your exterior panel over your zipper. Making sure your zipper is centered. Well, centered up and down. It doesn't have to be centered lengthwise. As long as it's not like completely obscure. Press down lightly. Pressing down. Move it if you need to. That's the good. So I only lightly press until, because we don't want to. Now don't forget to move your zipper head so it's inside the opening. Now you don't have any pins in the way because you pinned far away from the edge. You don't have to worry about taking out pins as you're sewing. You're just going to go ahead and you're going to sew around the entire box. Oh, look at that. I'm so happy with that. That looks so good. I'm just pressing it to make sure nothing moves because I literally have no pins holding this zipper down. It's just the double-sided tape. All right. So again, like I did with my interior, I'm going to start sewing along the side. Just making sure my pins aren't getting caught. So I can feel them catching a little bit, but it's not going to affect anything. I'm just slowly take my time and go around this entire perimeter of my box. Get that zipper anchored in place. So because we took away all that bulk, sewing this is much easier. If you had all that bulk still from the foam and didn't cut it off, this would be, like, it would look bulky and it would look sloppy. And I never want my purses to look sloppy. Okay, so one last long end, and I didn't have to move my zipper head this time, which is awesome. It's so much easier. again. And my stitching right there. Okay, look at that. So my zipper is now installed into my back panel. Look at that. Looks great. So we'll go ahead and flip it over and take out all these pins, because now we don't need them. And I don't think you want them in your purse. So take them out. All right, so we're gonna go ahead now and trim these zipper ends. All right, fold down the fabric. There's still a little bit of tape on the ends there. That's okay, and we're just cutting this right off as close as you can get. Just get rid of that. And like we did for the interior zipper pocket, we're going to take up our short end at the bottom. We're going to bring it up. We're going to match it with the top short end. And we're going to put it together so we can sew it. Alright, now for this step, I like to move my zipper head to about the center. I just found it was easier when I was making this the first couple times. So again, like we did for the interior, fold this other fabric out of the way. You only want to sew the zipper pocket fabric. You do not want to sew it. You don't want to sew it to your exterior panel. You want to just sew the zipper pocket. Moving the pins as we go, making sure that this is folded underneath so you're not catching it. It's okay to squish it. It's not going to hurt it if you squish it. It is pretty resilient. You can always iron it or steam it after if you're concerned about how it looks. Again, I'm going to move. It's a little harder because it is bulkier because it's foam, but just take your time. There's no rush. No rush at all. Making sure that fabric is not going to get underneath. No, it's not. And just sewing the very edge of the zipper pocket. And look at that. I'm almost done here. I always find the exterior part of the purse a lot faster than the interior part of the purse. Especially with this one. There's not as many steps on the exterior, obviously. Alright, so flip it over. Look at that. You have a nice zipper pocket. All kind of goodness you can put in there. I think that can fit a cell phone. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be able to fit a cell phone. I can't remember it now. I'm using my cell phone to record a video, so I can't even tell you. But look at that. See? Nice pocket. All nice and sewn together. There you go.